Across the world are crimson-haired peoples. Their ancestors set their roots in foreign lands. Their very descendants embody a warrior culture that's constantly honing itself and is naturally savage. Outsiders deem their gods heretical, yet silent. However, these interlopers don't understand these barbarians. But who are they? Well, these blue-painted people are the Wildlanders. Here we are again, folks. Now, I've been looking over the comments of the last video, and it seems the Wildlanders have been the most requested, because only one of you asked. So, I'll be covering their deeper lore today. Quick notice, like I said previously, this will be leaning towards what theories I have and whatever information I can gather in-game. Additionally, I'll mention this to anyone new here. I highly suggest checking out this video before diving into this. There's much needed context revolving around the world of Black Reliquary, since I'll be presuming you watched said video. Without further delay, let's see what these savages have in store for us. Firstly, what differentiates a Wildlander from the average humanoid? The most important aspect we need to acknowledge is that the Wildlanders are all half-giants, hence their unnatural strength, height, and width. The exception to that rule is the warhawk matron. She happens to be the only fully blooded giant we see in Black Reliquary. The captain confirms this as well.
For the Wildlanders, the spearhead and the throne are one and the same. The warhawk accepts nothing less than complete dominance. The blood of giants flows through her veins, imbuing her with unrivaled strength.
But how come they all have red hair, you ask? What I've been told by the developers, it's simply a little tribute to Red Sonja, a character from the Conan universe. I don't know anything about Red Sonja since I wasn't even a fucking concept of life until 18 years later. Regardless, each Wildlander warrior does have various hairstyles. Some have shorter hair, while others have much longer locks. Man, you can get really lost in that hair. Despite the blue war paint adorning these warriors, they're not tied to the tribe that Boudica, aka Hellion, used to be from. However, it gets a little bit confusing since there's technically Hellions amongst the Wildlanders. I believe this is more of a coincidence than anything substantial. Appearance aside, there's a lot more to the Wildlanders than what meets our eyes. Compared to worshippers of the light, the Wildlanders follow a pantheon of animalistic gods. They're pagans, basically. These nameless deities aren't typically worshipped in a traditional sense. Instead, the Wildlanders bring upon their gods favor through strength alone rather than invoking these spirits in prayer. These deities are hailed with praise, but that doesn't mean you'll see zealotry from the Wildlanders. The Wildlanders do have rituals for their warriors, though. In order to become a warrior in a clan, the Wildlander in question must travel far north into a mystical forest within the Stradavog Rus. Sadly, there's no name for this forest from what I researched. Apart from the massive pilgrimage, said warrior will have to be scarred by a beast of their selected god. The task's already massive on its own, considering the odds stacked against the warrior. If she succeeds in this trial and returns home with a physical scar as proof, the elders of her tribe will reward her with a helmet designed after the beast they pursued. There's already plenty of examples of this honor being bestowed onto the Wildlanders in Black Reliquary. Reavers have their helmets based on deer, Bombards have a boar design, Corvids and Raptors have a more bird-like look, or the iconic eagle for the Warhawk matron. The rest are pretty self-explanatory. Men are excluded from having such honors, and those who take upon the journey north to become a warrior are faced with even greater odds. Specifically certain monsters hunting down men, but there are very few cases of Wildlander men surviving this trial. Yet, talk about that later since the Wildlanders do have a functioning society. The most obvious social aspect of Wildlander society is the men. They're just as strong as their female counterparts from clear observations, though Wildlander men are treated differently. Complete matriarchy is in place. Men are casted into doing much less of the warrior-like occupations. Some of these positions vary from hunting animals to being concubines. It's safe to assume that they might carry the duty of raising children or other family duties, though there isn't much else I can gather. Men who do try to oppose their matron or their superiors are harshly punished. Some are forced to carry out loof for warbands. Others become sacrifices for the Silent Pantheon, or left chained to suffer from exposure. In-game, we are given opportunities to free these men from their bondage. As to what may happen to them afterwards is up to individual interpretation. My hunch is that either they roam the land free of their chains, or possibly perish in their attempts at redemption. However, the Wildlanders aren't united in their culture and social traditions alone. Let's begin with the Warhawk tribe. Referred to as the Giant Kin, the Warhawk tribe specializes in using gunpowder weaponry. Great cannons are boasted by their warriors, such as the Bombard and their matron. The Warhawk matron herself is a legendary woman of great power. Her path to becoming a matron was riddled with warfare. It's said that her scarring ritual was tremendously easy. I fucking wonder why. Furthermore, there will be a future conflict between her, the Serpent Matron, and the Hyena Matron. This fierce war only increased the Warhawk Matron's power exponentially after bloody battles. Thus, all opposing matrons had to stand down before the invincible Hawk. With this resulting peace, the Warhawk Matron heeded the words of her elders, migrating her tribe to the valley. She wasn't the only tribe within the valley upon her clan's arrival. Through careful negotiation, the Warhawk tribe carefully assimilated into the wider valley Wildlanders, with the Warhawk Matron standing alongside the Steelpath Matron and the Iron Matron in this grand confederation. This alliance does hold up to this day, with the Warhawk tribe still residing in the valley, working alongside the other clans and removing any outsiders from their land. Of course, they still sport their superior firepower. Nevertheless, there's another tribe that demands attention, the Steelpath tribe. The one with the sword. Such a quote is personified by one woman in this tribe, Steelpath Matron. Her tale is one of tragedy, bloodshed, and glory. Initially, she was captured by the Levanton Empire at a very young age and forced to toil in the mines, plus enduring harsh punishments. However, when the opportunity for gladiatorial combat arose, she took this chance to lash out her frustration and fury at many challengers. With an impressive kill count and daring escape, she soon found herself back into her clan. It wasn't long until she passed her scarring ritual, her helmet representing a python of fierce origin. It wasn't long until she became a matron, shrouded with the fright of her tribespeople, and ruling with an iron fist. As for her warriors, they're of stern stock and carry a hearty appetite for war. Their lack of armor indicates their sheer martial prowess, over the Warhawk tribe's reliance on gunpowder weaponry and lineage to giants. Their caches of randomly sorted weapons further cement this focus on strength in the exposed interior. Yet one critical factor separates this clan from the others. What is it? The warriors of the Steelpath tribe can be bought as mercenaries. It is said that kings and nobles of surrounding lands will pay a hefty price to have such warriors protecting them. On top of this outgoing service, the Steelpath tribe is considered morally questionable in Wildlander society. The reputation of not finding weaklings is unusual, yet it would be wise to not raise arms unless you plan on finishing the fight you start with this tribe. It's safe to assume that the Steelpath tribe lived in the valley before the Warhawk tribe entered the picture, but who truly settled within the valley first is the Ivory tribe. I believe I got a recent scouting report from an expedition in the exposed interior right now. One with the gods. The Ivory tribe was the first Wildlander tribe to settle within this hazardous environment. Far from other puny peoples, the Ivory tribe has hardened itself despite many challenges in the valley. As time went on, there was a growing prognostication festering amongst the elders of the Ivory tribe of a supposed Tusk daughter. This fabled legend would be the Ivory matron herself, born with an uncanny knowledge of Corvat's technology, and employing such ingenuity for an ancient exosuit. Unlike the previous matrons, the Ivory matron sought out a different beast untouched in the Silent Pantheon, the rhinoceros. Upon her return, she wasn't scarred. Instead, she possessed the horn of this beast, and then fucking scarred herself in front of her whole tribe. Yeah, she's built differently. Without question, the Ivory matron took her throne. Regarding the Ivory tribe itself, they quickly adapted their matron's knowledge of Corvat's technology to benefit themselves in combat. The Ripperkin is a clear-cut example of this hybrid between engineered destruction of the Corvats and sheer brute force of the Wildlanders. Additionally, most of the weapon you see the Ivory tribe wield can be traced to the Corvats, scavenged from whatever ruins they could find. To what extent the Ivory tribe will go to fine-tune this technology is anyone's guess. About the collective Valley Wildlanders, the Ivory matron leads this coalition. However, her precise goals are clouded, but my guess is that we'll be fighting her at some point to drive out these red-headed savages into the sands once and for all. Nevertheless, there are Wildlanders who aren't part of the clans that I need to mention. There are notable stories amongst the Wildlanders who were either exiled from their clans or shared their background. Riga is one of those tales. She's the lady that trains our heroes in Black Reliquary. Apart from her gifted height and strength, Riga wandered the world for a while as a vagabond. Now, she's not part of the Wildlander clans, but hails from the northwest. Where Riga came from is a bit vague, but Riga wasn't wandering alone for adventure. When she heard tales of her people settling the valley, she wished to join them. However, she did had to cross through the massive Oskavir Empire from its western border to the east. This stretch in her journey does hint that Riga might witness the Oskavir Empire after its collapse, though there isn't much information on that. Her journey was cut short when she got into a brawl at a bar, catching the attention of one particular man and her growing crew. In short, Riga was recruited by the captain, since both were headed towards the valley. Now she trains our aspiring heroes in the ways of war. Then, there's the Mountain God. He's a unique case for Wildlander men. Like the Steel Path matron, he endured captivity in the Levantine Empire of a similar story. He was forced to become a gladiator and escaped, but instead returned to his clan. The Mountain God chose to explore the world. Tales of his feats became legends over time, including the very blade he wields. More and more myths stacked regarding the Mountain God. So, he soon inherited a whole domain to rule over. What was it? The Levantine Empire. No, I'm not joking. He fucking ruled it for a while. The same empire that's trying to fucking kill us during their spelunking in the catacombs. Regardless, the Mountain God's reign was known for its long-lasting peace and justice. But one thing plagued this heroic warrior king. He still yearned for adventure. So, he left the kingdom at the hands of a trusted advisor before seeking out more glory. Sadly, he would pass away after fulfilling such a dream, peacefully buried in the mountains of his homeland, but with one special request. Those seeking to prove themselves may freely take the Mountain God's blade and honor such a spirit in battle. Although the Mountain God may have vanished, his wife persists today. Previously, she had followed the Mountain God in his initial adventures from a distance. It's not until the Mountain God dismissed his crown that she encountered him once more. The two Wildlanders would marry and have a son. This warrioress would continue to adventure after her husband's death to honor both him and build her own legend, with her son alongside her in this journey. Compared to the Mountain God and his wife, the Flayed is the complete opposite. A previous matron to a nameless clan, scorned for cowardice and losing her iconic helmet in the process. Her desperation to slay anything measurably challenging became a fruitless endeavor. No beast or person could be enough to bring the Flayed back into her clan's good graces. Then, a throbbing ringing crept into her mind. This ringing called out to her to a particular place in the valley. That ringing became alluring voices, then screeches demanding a new host. What this entity is or what the Flayed was looking for will be saved for another time. So let's wrap this up. Well, we're at the end here, folks. It's always surprising to see how much depth the Wildlanders have, not to mention their impressive background info for their matrons. Ironically enough, the Wildlanders are my favorite faction in VR. Not because of the obvious. I originally planned to release this video in January, but life got in the way, college and all that jazz. So hopefully you understand the gap in uploads beforehand. Nevertheless, if you ever want me to cover the other factions in Black Reliquary, post a comment about it. The comment with the most likes will get a video on said faction. I also want to mention something. Holy shit, thanks for the support on the previous video. I never expected anyone to care about Black Reliquary's lore, but you all stunned me with your love for that video. Seriously, thank you once again. I hope you all will stick around as I cover more of BR's lore in the future. I also want to thank a good friend S Purple for answering all my questions regarding Black Reliquary's lore. You're a magnificent bastard. Thank you. Nonetheless, like and subscribe if you want more of this stuff. Additionally, you can follow me on Twitch if you want to mess around and have a chaotic blast whenever I'm live. Apart from that, I want to thank my Knights of the Realm for financing this campaign, profiteering from all the wars we start. Speaking of which, I will be answering a question from one of them right now. What's one or multiple of your favorite class mods? I'll mention the Duchess. She's my all-time favorite. I'm an absolute sucker for Crimson Court's aesthetic, especially if its take on vampires. The Duchess isn't just good looking, I love her playstyle too. Apart from the free versions of her class, I've always loved her human form, constantly slapping the enemy whenever needed. There's so many good memories of crits. Anyways, thanks for the question, Wuna. Now, I have one last thing to say. Yes, I like Wildlanders. How could you tell?